Close your eyes for a moment and let your mind drift backward through time itself. 2,000 years dissolve like morning mist, and suddenly you find yourself standing on ancient cobblestones, still warm from the Mediterranean sun. The year is 150 AD, and Rome stretches endlessly before you, a city of marble dreams and forgotten whispers. Can you hear it? The gentle splash of fountains echoing off limestone walls. The soft shuffle of sandaled feet on worn stone paths. Somewhere in the distance, a merchant calls out his wares in Latin. His voice carried on the evening breeze that smells of olive oil, burning cedar. In the faint sweetness of wine, this is not the Rome of emperors and gladiators that fills our history books. This is the Rome of everyday moments, quiet, repetitive, almost boring in its beautiful simplicity. Tonight, we're going to meet someone the history books never bothered to remember. Someone whose life was so ordinary, so unremarkable, that it became extraordinary in its very mundaneness. His name. Well, his name doesn't matter. He might have been called Marcus, or Gaius, or perhaps just Boy by those who noticed him at all. What matters is what he did, day after day, year after year, in the steamy halls of Rome's greatest social gathering places. He was a bath attendant, one of hundreds who kept the massive public baths running smoothly, invisibly, like the very blood that flowed through Roman veins. Picture him now, a young man, perhaps 25, with calloused hands and patient eyes. His tunic is simple, undyed wool, practical rather than beautiful. He rises before dawn each morning, not because glory awaits him, but because the hypocost fires need tending, the oil jars need filling, and the marble floors need cleaning. His life unfolds in repetition, the same tasks, the same rhythms, the same quiet dedication to work that no one notices until it's not done. But here's what the history books missed. This forgotten attendant was part of something magnificent. He was a thread in the vast tapestry of Roman daily life, woven so tightly into the fabric of civilization that removing him would have caused the whole thing to unravel. The senators who made laws, the merchants who built fortunes, the citizens who shaped an empire, they all depended on him, though they never knew his name. As the last light of evening fades from the Roman sky, oil lamps begin to flicker to life throughout the city. Their warm, golden glow dances across marble columns and painted frescoes, creating shadows that seem to move and breathe with ancient secrets. In the public baths, our attendant is finishing his final tasks of the day, unaware that his simple, repetitive life is about to become our gateway into a world that time almost forgot. The steam rises slowly from the heated pools, carrying with it the whispers of 2 millennia. And in that steam, in that warmth, in that gentle repetition of daily tasks, we find something unexpected: peace. The kind of peace that comes from work done well, from purpose found in simplicity, from a life lived quietly but with deep meaning. Tonight, as you listen to his story unfold, let yourself sink into that ancient rhythm. Let the repetition calm your modern mind, the way the steady splash of Roman fountains once calmed the hearts of citizens long turned to dust. Because sometimes, the most boring stories are also the most beautiful ones. But who was this man really? And what secrets did the great Roman baths hold beyond their marble walls and heated waters? Step inside and let the warmth embrace you like an old friend's welcome. The baths of Caracalla stretch before us, massive, impossible, beautiful in a way that makes your breath catch in your throat. These aren't just buildings. They're architectural symphonies written in marble and stone, where every column sings and every arch whispers ancient secrets. Imagine walking through doors tall enough for giants, your footsteps echoing in vast halls that could swallow entire modern buildings. The ceiling soars overhead, painted with frescoes of gods and heroes, their colors still vivid after all these centuries. But what strikes you first isn't the grandeur, it's the sound. The gentle murmur of hundreds of conversations blending into a human symphony, punctuated by the splash of water and the soft scrape of bronze strigils against skin. This is where Rome truly lived, breathed, and dreamed. Not in the forum where politicians argued, Not in the Colosseum where gladiators died, but here in these warm, welcoming halls where social media meant face-to-face conversation, where networking happened in pools of heated water, where the real business of civilization unfolded one leisurely afternoon at a time. The Romans understood something we've forgotten in our rush toward efficiency. That the best ideas emerge not from boardrooms and conference calls, but from relaxation. From the slow unwinding of both body and mind. In these baths, senators would float beside shopkeepers, their differences dissolved in the democratic warmth of shared water. Merchants would close deals while having their backs scrubbed. Philosophers would debate the nature of existence while soaking in the caldarium's intense heat. Our bath attendant moves through this world like a ghost present but invisible, essential but unnoticed. Watch him as he glides between the bathers, a towel draped over his arm, a small amphora of oil balanced in his palm. His movements are fluid, practiced, economical. He's learned to read the subtle signs, the gesture that means more oil, the glance that requests fresh water, the almost imperceptible nod that signals a bather is ready to move from the warm pool to the... The architecture itself tells a story of Roman genius, but it's a story written in practical magic rather than mere aesthetics. These buildings weren't just beautiful, they were marvels of engineering that would challenge modern construction crews. Beneath your feet, an invisible network of channels and chambers breathes life into the entire complex. The hypocost system, that masterpiece of Roman innovation, turns every floor into a gentle heater, every wall into a radiator of warmth. But the true genius wasn't in the engineering, it was in understanding human nature. The Romans knew that people need more than just cleanliness. They need community, relaxation, and the luxury of time. In our modern world of 10-minute showers and hurried routines, we've lost something precious that these ancient people understood instinctively. That bathing isn't just about getting clean, it's about becoming human again, as afternoon light filters through high windows. Creating golden pools on marble floors, our attendant begins one of his many daily routines. He checks the temperature of each pool with the back of his hand, a gesture so automatic he barely thinks about it anymore. The frigidarium should be cool enough to shock, but not freeze. The tepidarium should welcome, without overwhelming. The caldarium should embrace with heat that penetrates to the very bones. These aren't just different temperatures of water. They're different states of being. The progression from cold to warm to hot mirrors the journey from tension to relaxation to transcendence. Romans didn't just bathe their bodies here. They cleansed their souls, cleared their minds, and reconnected with the simple pleasure of being alive and comfortable. In their own skin, the attendant understands this rhythm intimately. Though he might not put it into such philosophical terms, he sees the transformation that happens when a stressed merchant first enters the cold pool, the sharp intake of breath, the momentary shock, followed by that wonderful moment of adjustment when the body accepts the temperature and the mind begins to quiet. He watches as the same merchant, hours later, emerges from the caldarium with flushed cheeks and peaceful eyes, ready to face the world with renewed energy. But there's something else our attendant sees, something that makes his role more complex than simple service. He sees the hierarchy of Roman society played out in miniature every day. He's learned to navigate it with the skill of a diplomat and the invisibility of a shadow. Because while the warm water might make all bathers equal, Roman society definitely did not. What unspoken rules governed these steamy halls? And how did one man learn to move through such complex social waters without making a single ripple? The darkness before dawn holds a special quality in ancient Rome, thick and velvety, broken only by the occasional flicker of an oil lamp in a distant window. Our attendant wakes not to an alarm clock, but to something deeper, an internal rhythm honed by years of repetition. As reliable as the sunrise itself, his small room, barely larger than a modern closet, sits above the bathhouse where he's worked for nearly a decade. The walls are simple plaster, adorned except for a small oil lamp and a wooden shelf holding his few possessions. He stretches slowly, feeling the familiar ache in his lower back, a badge of honor earned from years of lifting water jugs and bending over the hypocost furnaces. The morning air carries the faint scent of last night's fires. mixed with the ever-present humidity that rises from the bath chambers below. It's a smell that's become as familiar as his own breathing. Warm stone, mineral-rich water, and the ghost of olive oil that seems to permeate every surface in the building. His morning routine unfolds with the precision of a sacred ritual. First, he splashes cool water on his face from a simple ceramic basin, feeling the shock wake his senses. Then he pulls on his work tunic, the same style he's worn for years. Practical wool dyed a neutral brown that won't show the inevitable stains from oil spills and mineral deposits. His sandals, worn soft by countless miles walked on marble floors, complete the uniform of Rome's invisible workforce. But the real work begins below. In the Prefernium, the furnace room that most visitors to the baths never see, this is where the magic happens, where the careful alchemy of fire, air, and engineering transforms cold stone into a warm haven. The hypocost system is already whispering to life as our attendant descends the narrow stone steps, guided by the faint glow of embers that never quite die. The first task is always the same: reading the fires. Like a physician taking a patient's pulse, he moves from furnace to furnace, assessing each one's needs. This fire needs more fuel. The flames are dancing too low, barely licking at the bronze grates that support the floors above. That one needs attention to its airflow. The draw isn't quite right, causing the heat to pool instead of circulating properly. Years of experience have taught him to diagnose these subtle variations by sight, sound, and even smell. The rhythm of feeding the furnaces becomes almost meditative. Reach for the wood, check its dryness with experienced fingers, place it just so to encourage the perfect burn. The flames respond with a satisfied crackle, sending waves of heat up through the hollow floors above. Each piece of wood is precious fuel. Doesn't come cheap in a city of over 1 million people, so every stick must burn with maximum efficiency. As the fires strengthen, the building itself begins to stir. The marble floors start their slow journey from cool to comfortably warm. The bronze fixtures expand slightly, creating tiny settling sounds that only someone who knows the building intimately would recognize. The air currents shift as heated air rises through the walls, creating the invisible circulation system that will keep the baths perfectly temperate. Throughout the day, water temperatures come next, and this requires a different kind of artistry. The attendant moves through the bathing chambers like a conductor preparing his orchestra, testing each pool with the back of his hand. Too hot, and the bathers will complain, or worse, be injured. Too cool, and the therapeutic benefits are lost. The temperature must be just right, and just right varies throughout the day as outdoor. Conditions change, and the number of bathers fluctuates. The process of adjusting water temperature is slow and deliberate. There are no quick fixes in a system this massive. Changes made now will take hours to fully manifest, requiring a kind of temporal thinking that our instant gratification world has largely forgotten. The attendant has learned to think like the building itself, in terms of thermal mass and gradual change, of patience and persistence rather than immediate results. Oil preparation comes last in the morning routine, but it's perhaps the most delicate task of all. The olive oil must be fresh but not too fresh, warm but not hot, mixed with just the right amount of sand for proper exfoliation. Each jar represents hours of careful preparation, selecting the right olives, pressing them at precisely the right moment, filtering the resulting oil through cloth until it reaches the perfect clarity and consistency. The oils themselves tell a story of the Roman Empire's reach and sophistication. This jar contains oil from Spanish groves, its rich golden color speaking of Mediterranean sunshine and ancient cultivation techniques. That amphora holds a more delicate oil from Greek islands, prized for its subtle fragrance and smooth texture. Even in this mundane daily task, the attendant handles the products of a vast commercial network that stretched from Britain to Egypt, from the Atlantic to the Black Sea. As the first rays of sunlight begin to filter through the high windows of the bathing halls, the building is ready. The fires burn steadily, the water temperatures are perfect, the oils are prepared. Everything is in place for another day of serving the citizens of Rome, another day of invisible excellence in pursuit of others' comfort and pleasure. But the morning preparation is only the beginning. Soon, The first bathers will arrive, each with their own needs, expectations, and social complexities to navigate. How does one man manage to serve everyone from slaves to senators, all while remaining perfectly, safely invisible? Beneath your feet, as you stand in the warm embrace of the Roman bathhouse, lies one of humanity's greatest engineering achievements, so ingenious that it wouldn't be truly improved upon for over 1,000 years. The hypocost system breathes like a living creature, inhaling cool air and exhaling warmth through every pore of the building's marble skin. Our attendant doesn't just tend these fires. He conducts an underground orchestra of flame and physics that most bathers never even know exists. Descend with him now into the Prefernium, the heart of this ancient marvel. The narrow stone steps lead down into a world of controlled fire and careful engineering that feels both primitive and incredibly sophisticated. The air grows warmer with each step, thick with the scent of burning wood and heated stone. This isn't the chaotic blaze of a campfire. This is fire domesticated, channeled. Made to serve human comfort with scientific precision, the furnace room stretches out in a maze of brick arches and bronze grates, each one supporting a different section of the floors above. Our attendant moves through this underground landscape with the confidence of long familiarity, but also with the respect that fire demands. One moment of carelessness, one poorly placed log or blocked air channel, and the delicate balance that keeps hundreds of bathers comfortable could collapse into dangerous overheating or, worse, potentially deadly carbon monoxide buildup. Watch him as he selects fuel for the fires. Not just any wood will do. The choice of fuel affects everything from heat output to smoke production to the rate of burn. Oak burns hot and long, but takes time to catch. Pine ignites quickly but burns fast and smoky. The perfect fire requires a mixture, layered with the skill of a master chef combining ingredients. First, the tinder dry twigs and bark that catch from the smallest spark. Then kindling, slightly larger pieces that bridge the gap between tinder and fuel. Finally, the main fuel wood, carefully selected for size and moisture content. The process of loading a furnace is almost ritualistic in its precision. The attendant crouches before each firebox like a priest before an altar, arranging the wood not haphazardly, but according to principles learned through years of trial and error. Airflow is everything. The flames need space to breathe, channels for fresh air to enter, and spent gases to escape. Too tight, and the fire smothers. Too loose, and the heat dissipates before it can be captured by the system. But the real genius of the hypocost isn't in the fires themselves. It's in what happens to the heat after it's created. The hot gases rise through hollow spaces in the floors, warming the marble from beneath with gentle, even heat. The walls themselves are hollow, allowing the warm air to continue its upward journey, heating the rooms not with harsh direct flame but with radiant warmth that seems to emanate from the very building itself. The attendant has learned to read the subtle signs that tell him how well the system is functioning. The sound of the draw through the furnaces, a soft, steady whisper that indicates proper airflow. The color of the flames blue means complete combustion and maximum efficiency, while yellow suggests adjustments are needed. Even the feel of the marble floors above tells him whether the heat distribution is even or if some areas need more attention. Temperature control in this system requires thinking hours ahead, like a chess master planning multiple moves in advance. Changes made to the fires now won't be fully felt in the bathing rooms for several hours, as the massive thermal mass of marble and stone slowly absorbs and distributes the heat. This means the attendant must constantly anticipate. Will it be a busy day, requiring more heat? Is the weather changing in a way that will affect how the building retains warmth? Are there special events planned that might bring larger crowds than usual? The most challenging aspect of managing the hypocost isn't technical, it's temporal. In our modern world of thermostats and instant adjustment, we've lost the patience required for this kind of heating system. But Roman bathers expected perfection. And perfection required a kind of prophetic ability to predict not just what was needed now, but what would be needed hours from now, during the height of the day's activity. When hundreds of bodies are adding their own heat to the bathing chambers, the attendant must begin reducing the fires, not because the rooms are too warm now, but because they will be in 2 hours when the building's thermal mass catches up with the increased fuel consumption. It's a delicate dance between physics and intuition, between the measurable and the felt. The maintenance of the system requires yet another set of skills. Ash must be removed regularly, but not too often. A thin layer actually improves the burn efficiency. The bronze grates that support the floors must be inspected for warping or cracks that could allow dangerous gases to escape into the bathing areas above. The channels that carry heated air through the walls need periodic cleaning to remove soot buildup that could block proper circulation. Perhaps most importantly, our attendant must understand the psychology of heat. Different people respond to warmth differently. What feels perfect to a robust young soldier might be comfortably cool to an elderly senator with poor circulation. The attendant learns to read not just the technical aspects of his system, but the human responses to it. He notices which areas of the baths different types of people prefer, how they move through the temperature progression, and what subtle adjustments can make their experience more pleasant. As evening approaches and the day's crowds begin to thin, the fires start their slow transition toward night mode, reduced but never extinguished, ready to be coaxed back to full life when tomorrow's cycle begins. The attendant performs his final checks of the day, ensuring proper airflow for the overnight burn, banking the coals to maintain steady heat without waste, clearing ash that might impede tomorrow's firing. But even as the fires settle into their evening rhythm, there's another crucial aspect of the attendance: work that demands attention, the oils and powders that transform a simple wash into a luxurious Roman bathing experience. What ancient secrets lay hidden in those carefully prepared mixtures? And how did they turn ordinary olive oil into liquid gold for the skin? In the quiet alcove where our attendant stores his precious supplies, dozens of clay, amphorae-lined wooden shelves like ancient pharmacist bottles, each one containing liquid treasures that would transform the Roman bathing experience from mere washing into something approaching ritual purification. The morning light, filtering through a small window, catches the golden gleam of olive oil and casts dancing shadows across. Vessels that hold the concentrated essence of the Mediterranean world. Touch one of these amphorae with him now, feeling the smooth coolness of fired clay beneath your fingertips. The vessel is surprisingly heavy, not just from the oil within, but from the weight of expectation, of tradition, of countless hands that have reached for similar jars across centuries of Roman civilization. The oil inside isn't just any oil. It's the product of ancient groves, where twisted olive trees have been yielding their golden fruit since before Rome was more than a collection of hills. Beside the Tiber River, our attendant's relationship with these oils goes far beyond the mechanical. He knows each variety by sight, by scent, by the way it feels when rubbed between thumb and forefinger. This amphora contains oil pressed from the first pressing of Spanish olive stick, rich, almost green in its intensity, perfect for the deep muscle work that gladiators and athletes require. That smaller jar holds a more delicate Greek oil, pale gold and fragrant with hints of the wild herbs that grow between the olive groves on Aegean islands. Its lighter consistency makes it ideal for the gentle massage that elderly senators prefer. The process of preparing the oils each morning is a ritual of precision and patience. First comes the warming knot over direct flame, which would destroy the oil's beneficial properties. But in bronze bowls placed near the hypocost vents, where gentle, even heat slowly raises the temperature to just above body warmth. The oil must be warm enough to spread easily and penetrate the skin, but never hot enough to burn or discomfort. But oil alone, no matter how perfectly prepared, is only half the story. The true artistry lies in the addition of abrasives, fine sand, ground pumice, or crushed seashells that transform the slippery oil into an effective exfoliant. The attendant's hands move with practiced precision as he measures these additives, knowing that too little will leave the oil ineffective at removing dead skin and embedded dirt, while too much will make the mixture harsh enough to damage delicate skin. The sand itself tells stories of distant shores. This particular batch came from the beaches near Naples, where volcanic activity has created grains of perfect size and texture. Not so coarse as to scratch. It's not so fine as to be ineffective. Mixed with oil at just the right proportion, it becomes a cleansing paste that Romans prize above almost any other luxury. In a world without soap as we know it, this mixture of oil and abrasive represents the pinnacle of cleansing technology. Watch as our attendant tests each batch, rubbing a small amount between his palms to check the consistency, the grit level, the way the mixture spreads and clings. His hands, roughened by years of this work, serve as the final quality control of the mixture feels right to his calloused fingers. It will feel perfect to the softer skin of the bathers he serves. It's a tactile knowledge that can't be taught from books or passed down through written instructions. Only learned through thousands of repetitions and careful attention to results. The application of these oils requires yet another set of skills. A kind of massage therapy that combines physical technique with social awareness. Each bather approaches the experience differently. The young merchant wants efficiency, a quick but thorough scraping that will remove the grime of the marketplace without taking too much time from his busy schedule. The elderly patrician requires gentleness. Slow circular motions that ease arthritic joints while gradually working away the accumulated tension of managing a great household. The strigil, that curved bronze scraper that is the attendant's primary tool, becomes an extension of his hand. The rhythm of its use, the spreading of oil, the gentle but firm scraping motion, the careful attention to removing the mixture along with dirt and dead skin creates a hypnotic cadence that many bathers find deeply relaxing. Some even fall asleep during the process, lulled by the repetitive motion and the warm, humid air of the bathing chambers. But there's an art to reading what each bather needs that goes beyond simple technique. The merchant's shoulders carry the tension of difficult negotiations. They need firm pressure to release the knots of stress. The senator's hands, soft from a life of privilege, require delicate attention to avoid discomfort. The soldier's scars tell stories of old wounds that may still be tender, requiring careful navigation around areas that might be sensitive. The fragrance is added. To the oils serve purposes both practical and psychological. Rose oil, imported at great expense from Persian gardens. This doesn't just smell pleasant, it's believed to have healing properties that soothe irritated skin. Lavender from the hills of Gaul promotes relaxation and peaceful sleep. Cedar oil from the mountains of Lebanon acts as a natural preservative, keeping the other oils fresh while adding its own subtle, woody scent as our attendant works through the afternoon. His movements develop an almost meditative quality. The spreading of oil becomes a prayer of sorts. The scraping motion follows ancient rhythms that seem to connect him to every bath attendant who has ever performed this same service, back through generations to the very beginning of Roman bathing culture. The disposal of used oil and the cleaning of strigils represents the final phase of this cycle of care. Nothing is wasted in a world where every resource has value. The oil scraped from bathers' bodies, mixed now with dirt and dead skin, doesn't go to waste. It's collected and sold to tanners who use it in the leather-making process, or to lamp makers who can burn it for light. Even the residue of luxury serves a practical purpose in the circular economy of ancient Rome. The tools themselves require their own ritual of care. Each strigil must be cleaned, dried, and oiled to prevent the bronze from tarnishing or developing rough spots that could scratch delicate skin. The attendant's hands, stained with oil and roughened by constant use, are washed and tended with the same care he gives to his tools. These hands are his livelihood, and any injury or irritation could prevent him from performing his duties with the precision that Roman bathers expect, as the day's supply of prepared oils dwindles and evening approaches. Our attendant begins the process of securing his supplies for the night. Amphorae are sealed with cork and wax to prevent contamination or evaporation. Strigils are arranged in neat rows, ready for tomorrow's use. The bronze warming bowls are emptied and cleaned, then stored in their appointed places. Everything must be perfect for tomorrow's cycle to begin smoothly, but the oils and powders, for all their importance, represent only one aspect of the attendant's daily interaction. With the endless stream of humanity that flows through these marble halls, each person who enters the baths brings their own needs, expectations, and social complexities, and navigating these human waters requires skills no training manual could ever teach. The first bather of the day always arrives just as the morning mist begins to lift from the marble floors. When the building itself is still stretching and settling into its daily warmth, today, as on most days, it's Marcus Flaviessa, grain merchant whose weathered hands speak of long hours spent evaluating wheat shipments. From Egypt and barley from Gaul, he nods to our attendant with the familiar courtesy of a regular customer, but says nothing. In the quiet hierarchy of the baths, words between patron and servant are unnecessary when routine serves just as well. Our attendant reads, Marcus like a scroll he's studied for years. The slight stiffness in the merchant's gait suggests his lower back is troubling him. Again, probably from lifting heavy sacks yesterday at the docks. The way he rolls his shoulders indicates tension that has settled there overnight. The physical manifestation of worry over delayed shipments or difficult negotiations. Without being asked, the attendant selects a warmer oil blend, one that will penetrate deeper into tight muscles, and adds just a touch more abrasive to help stimulate circulation. The rhythm of service begins with this first interaction, but it's a rhythm that must constantly adapt and shift as each new person brings their own tempo to the day. After Marcus comes Gaius, the younger, barely 20, son of a prosperous pottery maker whose smooth skin requires the gentlest touch and finest oils. His nervous energy, the way he fidgets and glances around, tells the attendant that this is still a new experience for him, something he's not entirely comfortable with yet. The attendant's approach changes completely. Where Marcus received confident, practiced efficiency, Gaius needs reassurance. The oil is applied more slowly, with explanations whispered in soothing tones about what's happening and why. The strigil moves with extra gentleness. The attendant positions himself to provide privacy from the curious glances of other bathers. It's a kind of social therapy disguised as simple hygiene by mid-morning. The baths fill with the complex symphony of Roman social life. Senators glide through the warm pools with the unhurried pace of men whose time is their own. Discussing grain subsidies and border policies in voices that carry the authority of inherited privilege, merchants cluster in the tepidarium. Their conversations focused on shipping schedules and currency fluctuations, their movements more hurried, even in relaxation. Soldiers, recognizable by their bearing even out of uniform, tend to gravitate toward the hottest pools. Their scarred bodies testament to service on distant frontiers. Our attendant moves through this social landscape like a skilled navigator reading subtle currents and hidden reefs. He's learned that Senator Aurelius prefers to be approached from the left. Some old injury makes him startle when people appear on his right side without warning. The young lawyer Quintus is particular about the temperature of his oil. It must be warm but never hot. It's applied with the lightest possible touch because his skin is sensitive to pressure. The retired centurion Brutus says little but expects perfection in every detail, from the cleanliness of the strigil to the precise mixture of oil and abrasive. Each interaction requires its own performance, its own understanding of invisible rules and unspoken expectations. When serving the wealthy, the attendant becomes almost invisible, present when needed, absent when not, never drawing attention to himself or his work. With middle-class merchants and craftsmen, a different dynamic emerges: more acknowledgement, occasional conversation, the recognition that both serve others for their living. Among the few slaves and freedmen who can afford the baths, there's sometimes a moment of shared understanding, a brief nod that acknowledges their common position in the vast hierarchy of Roman society. The afternoon brings families, and with them an entirely different set of challenges. Children, slippery with oil and excitement, require constant vigilance to prevent accidents on wet marble floors. Mothers, protective and particular about their offspring, watch every move the attendant makes with hawk-like intensity. Fathers trying to instill proper Roman values in their sons use the bathing experience as a teaching moment about discipline and proper behavior in public spaces. The attendant has learned to read family dynamics as carefully as he reads individual needs. This family clearly has money, but lacks confidence. They're new to wealth and uncertain about proper etiquette, requiring gentle guidance disguised as routine service. That family has old money and older expectations. They assume perfect service as their birthright and notice immediately if anything falls short of their standards. The single mother with 2 young children needs practical help managing slippery, excited little ones while maintaining her own dignity in a predominantly male space. Women's bathing hours bring their own complexities. Roman women, when they have access to the baths, often come in groups, creating social dynamics that the attendant must navigate with extra care. The oils they prefer tend to be more fragrant, the scraping more gentle, the overall experience more focused on beauty enhancement than simple cleansing. Conversations flow around him in languages he sometimes doesn't recognize. Greek when education is being displayed. Gallic when secrecy is desired. Latin when business is being conducted. But it's in the quiet moments between the crowds that our attendant's true skill shows itself. When a regular customer is clearly troubled, shoulders tense, response is short, movements agitated, he somehow knows to work more slowly to create a pocket of calm in the busy bathhouse. When someone appears to be experiencing their first visit to a Roman bath, overwhelmed by the complexity of the experience, he becomes an unobtrusive guide, demonstrating through action rather than explanation how the process works. The social stratification of Rome plays out in miniature every day in these marble halls. But the attendant has learned to serve everyone with the same quiet competence. The slave sent by his master to reserve a spot receives the same courteous efficiency as the master himself. The foreign merchant, struggling with Latin and uncertain about customs, gets patient guidance delivered with respect rather than condescension. The elderly widow, one of the few women who can afford regular visits, is treated with the deference due to age and loss. Late in the day, as shadows lengthen and the quality of light changes from bright gold to deep amber, a different type of visitor often appears. These are the contemplatives, philosophers, poets, scholars, who use the baths not just for cleansing, but for thinking. They move slowly through the temperature progression, often pausing in each pool to consider some weighty question or compose silent verses. They require the least physical attention, but the most sensitivity to mood and temperament, as our attendant serves this endless parade of humanity. Day after day, year after year, he becomes a kind of anthropologist of Roman daily life. He sees the same people age and change, watches fortunes rise and fall, observes the subtle shifts in fashion and behavior that mark the passage of time. He becomes a keeper of small secrets and private moments, a witness to the vulnerability that comes when people remove not just their clothes, but many of their social defenses. The evening's final bathers are often his favorites, the regulars who come not for social display or business networking, but simply for the pure pleasure of warmth and cleanliness. They've learned to appreciate the service he provides, sometimes offering a nod of thanks or a word of appreciation for work well done. It's in these moments that the attendant feels most connected to his purpose, most aware that his invisible labor contributes something meaningful to the lives of others. But all this human interaction, all this careful navigation of social currents and individual needs, represents only one aspect of his daily responsibilities. The physical environment itself requires constant attention, and some of his most meditative work happens not in serving people, but in serving the building that serves them all, in the hushed hour just after the last bather has departed, when the only sounds are the gentle lap of water against pool edges and the distant whisper of cooling hypocost fires. Our attendant begins what might be his most contemplative work of the day. The marble floors, streaked with oil and spotted with the footprints of hundreds of daily visitors, stretch before him like blank canvases waiting for an artist's careful attention. The tools of this trade are humble worn brushes with bristles stiff enough to scrub, but soft enough not to scratch. Buckets of clean water drawn from the same springs that feed the bathing pools, and cloths of soft wool that have been washed and re-washed until they achieve the perfect texture for final polishing. But in the attendant's experienced hands, These simple implements become instruments of transformation, capable of returning even the most neglected surfaces to their original pristine beauty. The process begins with assessment. The same careful observation that governs every aspect of his work. This section of floor near the caldarium entrance shows the heavy oil stains typical of the hottest pools, where bathers emerge with skin gleaming and dripping with the mixture of perspiration and carefully applied unguents. That area by the frigidarium bears the scuff marks of sudden movement, where people enter the cold water quickly to minimize the shock. The marble around the massage tables tells its own story, darker patches where oil has soaked in. Lighter areas worn smooth by countless feet. Water temperature for cleaning is as carefully considered as water temperature for bathing. Too hot, and it will set oil stains permanently into the porous marble. Too cold, and it lacks the energy to lift embedded grime. The attendant tests each bucket with the back of his hand, seeking that perfect warmth that will dissolve dirt without damaging the stone. The water itself comes from the same sources that supply the bath's mineral-rich springs that bubble up from deep underground. Carrying traces of the Earth's ancient chemistry, the rhythm of scrubbing becomes meditation in motion. Down on hands and knees, the attendant works systematically across each section of floor, the brush moving in slow, overlapping circles that ensure no spot is missed. The marble responds to this attention like a living thing, revealing its hidden patterns and colors as layers of accumulated grime fall away. What looked uniformly gray under the day's accumulation of use emerges as cream-colored stone shot through with veins of gold and amber. But this isn't just about appearance, it's about safety and health. Oil left on marble floors becomes treacherous when combined with water and steam, creating surfaces slick enough to cause serious injury. The attendant knows every potential hazard spot in the building, every place where water tends to pool or where the marble has worn smooth enough to become dangerous when wet. His cleaning follows patterns developed over years of experience, ensuring that the most dangerous areas receive extra attention. The brushes themselves require their own careful handling. Too much pressure, and the stiff bristles will scratch the marble's polished surface, creating rough spots that will only collect more dirt in the future. Too little pressure and stubborn stains will remain embedded in the stone's pores. The attendant has learned to read the resistance of different types of grimoire-based stains yield to steady, moderate pressure, while mineral deposits from hard water require a different approach entirely. Rinsing is its own art form, requiring multiple passes with clean water to ensure that no soap, residue, or dissolved dirt remains to cloud the marble's natural luster. The attendant works with gravity and the building's natural drainage, guiding dirty water toward channels that will carry it away from the bathing areas. Each section must be thoroughly rinsed before moving to the next, because dirty water from one area will only recontaminate clean marble elsewhere. The drying process reveals the true quality of the work. As moisture evaporates from properly cleaned marble, the stone seems to glow from within, its crystalline structure catching and reflecting even dim lamplight in thousands of tiny sparkles. Areas that weren't quite clean enough remain dull and lifeless. While perfectly maintained, marble develops an almost luminous quality that makes the entire space feel more welcoming and peaceful. But floors are only the beginning of the evening's cleaning ritual. The pools themselves require their own careful attention, starting with the removal of floating debris, loose hair, fragments of dead skin scraped away by strigils, occasional leaves that have blown in through high windows. A fine bronze skimmer, its mesh so delicate it can catch particles nearly invisible to the naked eye, moves across the water's surface in slow, methodical sweeps. Pool edges, where bodies have rested and oils have concentrated, need special treatment. These marble lips, worn smooth by countless elbows and arms, can become breeding grounds for the kinds of growths that would make bathing unpleasant or even unhealthy. The attendant scrubs each edge with small brushes designed specifically for curved surfaces, working cleaning compounds into every crevice where organic matter might accumulate. The bronze fixtures throughout the bathhouse spouts that deliver fresh water, drains that carry away used water, decorative elements that add beauty to functional spaces all require their own maintenance. Bronze tarnishes quickly in the humid environment of the baths, developing a green patina that, while not harmful, detracts from the luxurious atmosphere that Roman bathers expect. The cleaning compounds for bronze are different from those used on marble, more acidic, designed to dissolve mineral deposits without damaging the metals. Surface: each fixture tells its own story of use and wear. This waterspout, shaped like a dolphin's head, has developed a slight greenish tinge around the mouth, where mineral-rich water has dripped for months. That decorative panel, embossed with images of Neptune and his trident, shows polishing marks from countless cleanings, the raised portions worn brighter than the recessed areas. The attendant's hands move over these surfaces with the familiarity of long acquaintance. Knowing exactly how much pressure each material can withstand, the cleaning of oil storage areas requires yet another approach. These spaces, where amphorae are kept and mixing bowls are prepared, can become sticky with spilled oils that attract dust and debris. The attendant uses absorbent materials: sawdust, sand, crushed shells to soak up fresh spills before they can spread or penetrate surfaces. Older set stains require patient work with compounds that can dissolve hardened oils without damaging the containers or surfaces they've contaminated. As the night deepens and the cleaning ritual nears completion, our attendant performs his final inspection by lamplight. The warm glow of oil flames casts dancing shadows across marble surfaces that now gleam like water, highlighting every successful repair and revealing any areas that might need additional attention tomorrow. The building has been returned to its state of readiness, prepared once again to welcome the citizens of Rome into its warm embrace. The tools are cleaned and stored, the dirty water carried away, the cleaning compounds returned to their proper places. But the most important result of this nightly ritual is invisible. It's the peace that comes from work completed with care and attention. The satisfaction of knowing that tomorrow's bathers will find a space as perfect as human effort can make it. Yet even in these quiet moments, after the cleaning is complete, when the attendant might finally rest, the building continues its own subtle rhythms around him. In the depths of night, when the last lamps are dimmed and the final fires banked for sleeping, what mysteries does this ancient place hold? The deep night hours in a Roman bathhouse hold a quality of silence found nowhere else in the bustling city. Outside, the sounds of urban life continue, the creak of cartwheels on cobblestones, the distant call of night watchmen making their rounds, the occasional burst of laughter from late tavern-goers making their way home. But within these marble walls, a different kind of time exists, measured not by the movement of people, but by the slow breathing of stone and water, the gentle whisper of heated air moving through hollow spaces. Our attendant knows this nocturnal world as intimately as he knows the daylight chaos of busy bathing hours, in the silvery dimness lit only by a few strategically placed oil lamps. He moves through spaces transformed by emptiness into something almost sacred. The pools, no longer disturbed by human activity, reflect the lamp flames with perfect stillness, creating the illusion of fires burning deep underwater. The marble floors, still warm from the day's heating but no longer scuffed by countless feet, seem to glow with their own inner light. This is when the building reveals its most intimate secrets. Sounds that are lost in the daytime bustle become audible now, the almost musical notes created when drops of condensation fall from ceiling to pool, each drop pitched differently depending on the depth of water it strikes. The soft settling sounds as the marble structure adjusts to cooling temperatures, tiny expansions and contractions that create gentle whispers and sighs throughout the complex. Even the hypocost system, reduced to its overnight maintenance level, produces a subtle rhythm of airflow that sounds almost like distant breathing. The attendant uses these quiet hours for tasks impossible during busy periods. This is when he can inspect every tile for cracks or loosening, every joint in the marble work for signs of wear that could become problems if left unattended. His fingers, trained by years of experience, can detect the slight roughness that indicates a tile beginning to separate from its mortar bed, or the almost imperceptible give that suggests structural settling in a wall. Maintenance work in the hypocost system happens primarily during these night hours, when reduced heat demands allow access to areas that would be unbearably hot during full operation. The attendant descends into the underground maze of chambers and channels, carrying a small oil lamp that casts dancing shadows on brick walls, blackened by years of flame and smoke. Here, in the mechanical heart of the complex, he performs the careful inspections that keep the system running safely. The smell down here is different from the perfumed air of the bathing chambers above Earth here. More primitive, carrying the honest sense of fire and stone and carefully managed combustion. The attendant checks air channels for blockages, examines fuel chambers for proper ash removal, tests the bronze grates that support the floors above for signs of warping or stress fractures. Each small problem caught and corrected during these quiet inspections prevents larger failures that could shut down entire sections of the baths. But it's not all work during these solitary hours. Sometimes the attendant simply sits in one of the warm pools, feeling the water that he helps maintain embrace his own tired muscles and aching joints. These stolen moments of personal comfort are never taken for granted. He knows that discovery could mean punishment or dismissal. But the building itself seems to encourage these brief respites, offering its healing warmth to the man who tends it so faithfully. The play of light and shadow during night hours transforms familiar spaces into landscapes of mystery and beauty. Lamp flames reflected in still water create the illusion of underwater cities, complete with flickering buildings and wavering streets. Steam rising from warm pools becomes ghostly figures in the dim light, appearing and dissolving like spirits of ancient bathers returning to their favorite haunts. Even the marble statues positioned throughout the complex seem more alive in this dancing illumination, their carved features shifting subtly as shadows move across stone faces. Water sounds take on special significance in the nighttime quiet. The gentle splash of overflow systems becomes a soothing rhythm, like distant waterfalls heard through forest silence. The almost inaudible gurgle of drains creates a bass note beneath the higher-pitched music of dripping condensation. The attendant learns to read these sounds for information about system performance changes and flow rates that might indicate developing blockages, alterations in the rhythm of mechanical processes that could signal needed adjustments. Temperature monitoring during night hours requires different skills from daytime management. Without the constant influx of warm bodies to help heat the bathing chambers, the attendant must rely entirely on the hypocost system to maintain proper temperatures. But this also means he can detect problems more easily, like cold spots that might be masked during busy periods become obvious in the empty building. Hot zones that could become dangerous are more readily identified and corrected. The preparation of tomorrow's supplies often happens during these quiet hours. Oil mixtures can be prepared without interruption, allowed to settle and reach perfect consistency overnight. Tools can be sharpened, cleaned, and arranged without the pressure of immediate need. The attendant uses this time to organize his materials, ensuring that everything will be ready for the morning's first customers, who will arrive just as the night shift ends. Sometimes, in the deepest part of night, when even the city outside has settled into relative quiet, the attendant experiences moments of profound connection with the centuries of history embedded in these walls. He imagines other attendants who have performed these same tasks, tended these same fires, cleaned these same marble surfaces. The continuity of service, the unbroken chain of care and maintenance that keeps this complex functioning, stretches back through generations of forgotten workers, whose names history never recorded but whose dedication lives on in every perfectly maintained surface. The contrast between day and night in the bathhouse represents more than just different work schedules. It's a reminder of the dual nature of his existence. During daylight hours, he's part of the complex social machinery of Rome, navigating relationships and expectations, serving the needs of citizens whose lives intersect with his only briefly and superficially. But during these night hours, his relationship is directly with the building itself, with the physical systems and structures that make the daytime social experience possible, as the first hint of dawn begins to lighten the high windows. The night shift gradually transitions toward day. The hypocost fires are fed and encouraged toward their daytime output levels. Water temperatures are adjusted upward in preparation for the day's first bathers. The attendant performs his final inspections of the night, ensuring that everything is ready for another cycle of service. But this transition from night to day is gradual, gentle, allowing time to appreciate the subtle beauty of a building perfectly maintained and ready to serve. The marble surfaces gleam in the growing light. The pools reflect the sky visible through clear-story windows, and the whole complex seems to stretch and awaken like a great creature preparing for another day of purpose. Yet even as morning approaches and the cycle prepares to begin anew, there's something bittersweet about the end of each day's service. What happens when the lamps are finally dimmed and the fires banked for their overnight rest? How does such a day of constant service and attention find its gentle close? As the last patron of the day departs, sandals echoing softly against marble that still holds the warmth of afternoon sun, our attendant begins the slow, methodical process of transitioning his world from day to night. The evening light filtering through high windows has taken on that golden quality peculiar to late Roman afternoons, casting long shadows that stretch across pools now empty of all human presence save his own. The ritual of closing begins with the lamps. Dozens of small oil flames that have supplemented daylight throughout the afternoon and will soon become the only illumination in these vast marble halls. Each flame requires individual attention, not to extinguish but to adjust. Night lighting serves different purposes than daylighting, less about illumination for activity, more about maintaining just enough visibility for safety and the gentle ambiance that will help tomorrow's early visitors ease into their bathing routine. The attendant moves from lamp to lamp with practiced efficiency, adjusting wicks to ensure clean burning through the long night hours ahead. Too high and the flame will smoke, consuming oil wastefully while creating soot that will stain the marble walls. Too low and the flame might gutter out entirely, leaving dangerous dark zones where someone could stumble or fall. Each wick must be trimmed to precisely the right length. The oil reservoir is checked to ensure adequate fuel for the night's needs. The pools themselves require their own evening preparations. The overflow systems that maintain water levels during busy periods are adjusted for nighttime flow rates. Less water will be used overnight, but the circulation must continue to prevent stagnation and maintain the slight movement that keeps the water fresh and appealing. The attendant checks each inlet and outlet, ensuring that the bronze mechanisms are clean and functioning properly, that no debris has accumulated to block the careful engineering that keeps these artificial springs flowing. But it's the hypocost fires that demand the most attention during this evening transition. The day's full heat is no longer needed. But the fires cannot simply be allowed to die. That would mean starting from cold ashes tomorrow morning, a process that takes hours to bring the building back to proper temperature. Instead, the fires must be carefully banked, reduced to a gentle level that will maintain basic warmth throughout the night while conserving fuel and minimizing the risk of dangerous overheating in empty spaces. This process of banking fires is an art learned through years of experience and careful observation. The attendant descends into the Prefernium, where the day's vigorous flames have settled into a more contemplative rhythm. The air here is thick with warmth, and the scent of well-seasoned wood slowly transforming into glowing coals. The sound of the fires has changed to no longer the active crackling of rapid combustion, but the quieter whisper of steady, controlled burning. Each furnace requires individual assessment and adjustment. This one, which heats the caldarium, can be reduced significantly since no one will be using the hottest pools overnight. That one, serving the tepidarium, needs to maintain more heat because the warm pools are often the first destination for early morning bathers who want to ease gradually into their daily routine. The furnace that serves the entrance areas and dressing rooms must keep running. At nearly full capacity, these spaces need to be comfortably warm when the first customers arrive at dawn. The process of banking involves more than simply adding less fuel. The arrangement of coals and remaining wood must be planned to ensure even burning throughout the night. The attendant uses long iron tools to spread the glowing embers evenly across the furnace floors, creating beds of steady heat that will consume fuel slowly and predictably. Partially burned logs are positioned to catch fire gradually, extending the burn time without creating sudden flares of heat that could damage the system or waste. Fuel.airflow management becomes even more critical during the night hours. The bronze dampers that control airflow through the hypocost chambers must be adjusted to reduce the oxygen supply to the fires, slowing combustion to the desired overnight rate. Too much air, and the fires will burn too hot and fast, consuming the night's fuel supply before dawn. Too little air, and the fires may smolder inefficiently, producing dangerous carbon monoxide that could seep into the bathing areas above. The attendant's movements through the furnace area take on an almost ceremonial quality in the flickering light of banked fires. He checks each flame with the attention of a priest tending sacred fires, ensuring that the life-giving warmth that defines the Roman bathing experience will continue through the dark hours. The bronze tools, he uses pokers, shovels, damper controls have become extensions of his own hands through years of use. Their weight and balance as familiar as his own heartbeat. Fuel preparation for the following day happens during these evening hours, when the work can be done without interfering with customer service. Wood must be sorted by size and dryness, with kindling prepared and positioned for easy access when morning comes. The attendant arranges tomorrow's fuel supplies with the same care he brings to every aspect of his work, ensuring that each piece is dry enough to burn cleanly, but not so old that it has lost its energy content. The ash removal that happens during fire. Banking serves multiple purposes. Accumulated ash insulates the firebed, reducing efficiency and making temperature control more difficult. But the ash itself is valuable mixed with fat. It creates a crude soap useful for cleaning the heaviest stains. Mixed with water, it forms a lye that can be used for more aggressive cleaning tasks. Nothing in the Roman economy is wasted. Even the waste products of comfort and luxury find new purposes in the endless cycle of use and reuse. As the fires settle into their overnight rhythm, the attendant performs his final security checks of the day. Each lamp is inspected one more time to ensure stable burning. Water levels in all pools are verified. The bronze fittings that could expand or contract with temperature changes are checked for proper seating. The marble surfaces are given a final inspection for any hazards that might endanger early morning visitors moving through dim pre-dawn light. The sound of the building changes as night deepens, and the fires burn lower. The active warmth of day gives way to the gentler heat of evening, and the marble structure begins its slow adjustment to cooler temperatures. The expansion joints between stone blocks whisper softly as materials contract slightly. The water in the pools laps more gently against their edges, creating a rhythm like slow breathing that will continue through the night. Temperature. Monitoring during these evening hours requires a different kind of attention than daytime management. The attendant moves through the bathing chambers, feeling with his hands and feet for any areas that might be cooling too quickly or retaining too much heat. The marble should be warm to the touch but never hot, welcoming to bare feet but not shocking to sensitive skin. Achieving this balance throughout, the large complex requires constant small adjustments. 2 dampers and fuel arrangements. The scents of evening in the bathhouse blend the days, accumulated fragrances, with the night's approaching stillness. The last traces of perfumed oils used during the day's massages mingle with the honest smell of burning wood and warm stone. Steam still rises from the pools, but more gently now, creating soft clouds that catch the lamplight and diffuse it into a warm, golden glow that makes the entire space feel intimate and peaceful. As the attendant completes his evening rounds and the fires settle into their steady overnight burning, a sense of completion settles over the building. Another day of service has ended successfully. Another cycle of care and maintenance has been completed. The marble gleams in the gentle lamplight. The pools reflect the flames like liquid mirrors, and the warm air carries the promise of tomorrow's renewed activity. But this daily cycle of service, this endless repetition of care and maintenance, represents something larger than just the operation of a single building. What does it mean to dedicate a lifetime to work that history will forget? To find purpose in tasks that leave no monuments, no lasting recognition. In the vast tapestry of Roman history, woven with golden threads of conquest and purple strands of imperial power, Our bath attendant appears as the finest of background threads, nearly invisible unless you look closely, but essential to the integrity of the entire fabric. His name will never appear in marble inscriptions or bronze plaques. No poet will compose verses about his daily dedication. No historian will record his years of faithful service. Yet without him, and thousands like him, the magnificent machinery of Roman civilization would have ground to a halt as surely as if the aqueducts had run dry. Consider the paradox of his existence: completely essential, utterly invisible. Every senator who shapes policy, every merchant who builds an empire of trade, every citizen who enjoys the privileges of Roman life depends on his silent, steady labor. The comfort that allows great minds to contemplate philosophy. The cleanliness that prevents disease from sweeping through crowded urban populations. The social spaces where the business of civilization is conducted. All of this rests on his shoulders and the shoulders of countless others like him. The marble he tends so carefully will outlast empires. 2,000 years from his time, when the Forum has crumbled and the Colosseum stands in ruins, some of these same stones will still bear the polish his hands applied day after day, year after year. Future archaeologists will marvel at the sophistication of Roman engineering, the precision of the hypocost systems, the beauty of the decorative work, but they will never know the name of the man whose daily care preserved these marvels for their discovery. There's a profound democracy in his obscurity. While the powerful compete for immortal fame through monuments and memoirs, our attendant achieves a different kind of permanence, the immortality of necessary work well done. Every time someone, anywhere in the world, enjoys the simple pleasure of warm water and cleanliness, they participate in a tradition that he helped maintain. Every public bath, every spa, every place where human beings gather to be refreshed and renewed carries forward the legacy of his anonymous dedication. The rhythms of his days mirror the deeper rhythms of civilization itself. Just as empires rise through countless small acts of construction and maintenance, they fall when such work is neglected. The attendant understands this instinctively, though he might not articulate it in grand historical terms. He knows that civilization is not built by great events alone, but by the accumulation of ordinary moments handled with care and attention. His relationship with the physical world around him represents something that more privileged Romans have lost. While senators debate abstractions and merchants manipulate symbols of wealth, he works directly with fire and water, stone and bronze, oil and flesh. His knowledge is tactile, immediate, earned through repetition and refined through constant attention to real-world feedback. When he adjusts a furnace damper, he sees immediate results in temperature changes. When he cleans a marble surface, the improvement is visible and lasting. This direct engagement with physical reality grounds him in ways that pure intellectual or commercial pursuits cannot. He knows the weight of water, the behavior of different oils at different temperatures, the way bronze expands in heat and contracts in cold. His education has been written not in scrolls, but in the behavior of materials and systems, in the responses of human bodies to different treatments, in the subtle variations that distinguish perfect service from merely adequate performance. The social invisibility that defines his working life creates its own peculiar form of freedom. While the powerful must constantly perform their status, must always be aware of who is watching and judging. He moves through his duties largely unobserved. This anonymity allows him to see Roman society from a unique perspective, close enough to observe its intimate details, removed enough to avoid being corrupted by its politics and pretensions. He witnesses the private moments when public figures drop their masks. The arrogant senator who becomes gentle and grateful under the soothing touch of warm oil, the harsh merchant who reveals vulnerability when his arthritic joints are eased by heated pools. In the democracy of nakedness and vulnerability that characterizes the bathing experience, he sees Romans as they really are, rather than as they pretend to be in the forum or the marketplace. Yet this privileged view of human nature comes with its own burdens. He must maintain discretion about what he observes, must never betray the trust that comes with intimate service. The secrets he keeps, political alliances discussed in whispered conversations, business deals negotiated between massage sessions. Personal weaknesses revealed in moments of physical comfort could topple careers or reshape the balance of power in the city. His discretion becomes another form of service. As essential as his skill with oils and fire, the cyclical nature of his work reflects larger truths about human existence that the powerful often ignore in their pursuit of linear advancement and accumulating achievement. Each day he begins again with the same tasks, faces the same challenges, applies the same solutions. Yet this repetition is not monotonous but meditative, not limiting but liberating. In accepting the circular nature of his duties, he finds a peace that eludes those who chase ever greater heights of ambition. His hands, roughened by constant contact with water and abrasives, tell the story of a life devoted to service. But they also tell a story of mastery, the development of skills refined through thousands of repetitions, of knowledge accumulated through patient attention to detail. These hands know things that cannot be learned from books, the exact pressure needed to clean marble without scratching it, the precise temperature that maximizes the therapeutic benefits of oil massage, the subtle adjustments that keep complex systems running smoothly. The building itself becomes his greatest teacher and his most lasting monument. Every surface he has cleaned bears the invisible mark of his care. Every system he has maintained functions as a testament to his skill. The hypocost fires that burn steadily through winter nights, the pools that maintain perfect temperatures through changing seasons, the marble floors that remain safe and beautiful despite constant use. All of these speak to his competence even though they cannot speak his name. In the larger context of Roman history, he represents something that the empire's critics and admirers alike often miss: the foundation of skilled, dedicated labor upon which all higher achievements rest. The philosophers who contemplate truth in comfortable surroundings, the artists who create beauty in well-heated studios, the politicians who debate policy in pleasant environments, all depend on the invisible network of workers who maintain the infrastructure of civilized life. As his career progresses and his hair begins to show silver threads, he becomes not just a keeper of fires and tender of marble, but a custodian of tradition itself. The young attendants who work alongside him learn not just techniques, but attitudes, the quiet pride in work well done, the satisfaction of service performed with skill and dedication, the understanding that small acts of care contribute to something much larger than themselves. But what happens when such a life of dedicated service reaches its natural end? How does the gentle routine of care and maintenance transition into the final rest that awaits all human effort? The evening mist rises more slowly now, as if the very air has grown heavy with memory and contentment. Our bath attendant, his hair now silver white like marble dust, moves through his final rounds with the measured pace of someone who has found perfect rhythm in life's most ordinary tasks. Tonight, like so many thousands of nights before, the building settles into its peaceful rest. But there's something different in the quality of this particular twilight, sense of completion. Of stories drawing to their gentle close, the lamps flicker with the same warm light they have provided for decades. But tonight their glow seems softer, more forgiving, as if the flames themselves understand that this familiar ritual of tending and care is approaching its natural end. The marble floors, polished to perfection by countless careful cleanings, reflect the lamplight like pools of liquid gold, each surface a mirror of time itself. Holding within its crystalline structure the accumulated moments of a lifetime devoted to simple excellence, steam rises from the pools in lazy spirals, carrying with it not just the warmth of heated water, but the essence of all the days and years that have passed within these walls. Each wisp of vapor holds memories. The laughter of children taking their first tentative steps into warm water, the quiet conversations of old friends meeting for their regular afternoon ritual, the satisfied sighs of tired workers finding renewal after long days of labor in the bustling city beyond these marble walls. The sounds of the building have become a lullaby that our attendant knows by heart, the gentle whisper of water moving through bronze channels, the soft settling sounds as stone and mortar adjust to the cooling evening air, the distant crackle of hypocost fires burning low in their chambers beneath the floors. These are the sounds of a place perfectly maintained, a system running in harmony with itself. Testimony to decades of attentive care and quiet dedication as he moves through the empty chambers, adjusting final details with hands that know every surface, every fixture, every hidden corner of the complex. The attendant feels the weight of years settling around him like a comfortable cloak. His fingers, reading surfaces through touch alone, detect no imperfections that tomorrow cannot address, no problems that cannot be solved with patient application of well-practiced skills. Everything is as it should be. Everything is ready for another day of service. Another cycle of human needs met with quiet competence. The bronze fixtures gleam in the lamplight, their surfaces polished to mirror brightness by thousands of careful cleanings. Each piece tells its own story of durability and care. The dolphin-shaped spouts that have delivered, the countless gallons of fresh water, the decorative panels that have provided beauty alongside functionality, the practical elements that have served their purposes so well that their excellence has become invisible through familiarity. The oils, prepared for tomorrow's needs, rest in their amphorae, like liquid treasures waiting to bring comfort and healing to tired bodies and stressed spirits. Their fragrance is olive and almond, rose and lavender mingle in the warm air, like incense in a temple, dedicated not to distant gods, but to the immediate human's needs for cleanliness, comfort, and gentle care. These scents have become the signature of this place, the aromatic memory that visitors carry with them long after they leave these marble halls. But tonight, as the familiar routines wind toward their completion, something new enters the atmosphere of the bathhouse. It's not quite silence. The building never falls completely silent, but rather a quality of listening, as if the very walls are paying attention to these final moments of the day's service. The marble seems to glow more warmly. The water reflects the lamplight more perfectly. The steam rises more gracefully than usual. The attendant pauses in his work, standing quietly in the central hall, where the most beautiful pools reflect the dome overhead like earthbound constellations. For just a moment, the weight of all those years of service, all those days of repetitive care, all those countless small acts of maintenance and attention, seems to crystallize into something approaching wisdom. He understands, perhaps for the first time fully, that his life has been a kind of prayer, not spoken in words but enacted in deeds, not performed for recognition, but offered as pure service to the ongoing miracle of human civilization. The warmth that surrounds him now isn't just the heat of well-tended fires or carefully maintained water temperatures. It's the warmth of purpose fulfilled, of duty performed with devotion, of a lifetime spent in service to something larger than personal ambition or individual recognition. The marble beneath his feet, the bronze around him, the very air he breathes, all of it has been touched by his care, improved by his attention, made perfect through his dedication to excellence in the smallest details. As the final lamp adjustments are completed and the fires settle into their overnight rhythm, the attendant feels a profound sense of peace descending over the building and over his own spirit. The work is done, the day is complete, and tomorrow will bring its own opportunities for service and care. But tonight, in this moment of perfect stillness, there's nothing left to do but rest in the satisfaction of tasks completed and duties fulfilled. The pools grow still as glass, their surfaces no longer disturbed by human activity, but perfect mirrors reflecting the gentle light above. The steam continues its slow dance upward, but more softly now, like visible breath in the cooling air. The marble floors retain their warmth, ready to welcome bare feet when morning comes. But for now, they rest in peaceful emptiness. Gleaming softly in the lamplight like sleeping giants of stone, the attendant takes his final walk through the chambers. Not to check or adjust everything is perfect, but simply to say goodbye to another day in this place that has become more than workplace, more than duty, more than routine. It has become home in the deepest sense, the place where his life's purpose has been lived out in countless small acts of care and attention. As he climbs the narrow stairs to his modest quarters above the bathhouse, The sound of his footsteps echoes softly in the marble halls below. But even as the footsteps fade, the presence of his care remains in every perfectly maintained surface, every properly adjusted system, every detail that will welcome tomorrow's visitors with silent excellence. The lamps burn low now, their flames barely disturbing the peaceful darkness that settles over the building like a gentle blanket. The hypocost fires whisper softly in their chambers, breathing life into the stone and keeping the promise of warmth for another day. The water moves almost silently through its channels, maintaining the circulation that keeps everything fresh and ready. And in this perfect moment of rest, when the day's work is complete and the night's peace has settled over everything, the true beauty of the Roman bathhouse reveals itself. It's not just in the magnificent architecture or the ingenious engineering, or the luxurious appointment sits in the love and care that has been built into every detail, the human dedication that has made perfection possible, the quiet service that has transformed mere buildings into places of healing and renewal. The steam rises one last time in gentle spirals, carrying with it the accumulated peace of countless peaceful endings, countless gentle transitions from work to rest, from service to satisfaction. And as consciousness slowly fades into the restful darkness of well-earned sleep, the last thought is not of tasks left undone or duties unfulfilled, but of the deep contentment that comes from a life lived in service to others, from work done with love, from days spent in quiet devotion to the simple but profound human need for warmth, cleanliness, and care. The baths fade into dreams, and in those dreams the marble gleams eternal. The waters flow forever warm, and the careful hands that tended them through all the seasons of a dedicated life continue their gentle work in the realm where all true service finds its perfect and lasting reward.